Hey, you clicked on the video. Thanks for stopping by. My name is Ivan, and the channel is called Hey Ivan. This is a channel where you can ask a tech guy tech questions. Today's video is a little different than the ones I've released in the past because today I'll be talking about my YouTube journey and my gear. 7 months ago, I released my first YouTube video on how fast your internet should be. What preparations did I make when I started my channel? I guess the first thing I did is I went to YouTube and I searched for a bunch of videos on how to launch a YouTube channel. And I'm in the fortunate position that there are two people I know who are making a big run at YouTube. One of them, like me, is still making their way to their first 1,000 subscribers, and he is really close. His name is Joel, and he has a channel called Joel Marshall's Lunch Therapy. So he's been a great resource for me. I've had an opportunity to ask him some questions about his setup, how he's doing things, and he shared some things with me. I've shared some things with him. It's been a great collaboration, a great exchange. Another friend of mine, Michelle Wong, she started her YouTube channel a few years ago, and she has more than 150,000 subscribers right now. I'll put a link to her channel in the description as well as a link to Joel's, and you can check both of them out. And Michelle has been great. She has answered a ton of my questions. She's given me some positive encouragement. I also bought a couple of books to help me prepare, and I bought a little bit of gear, although you don't really have to have a ton of gear in order to start a YouTube channel. What I learned and what I believe now more than ever is that if I had nothing but a phone mount, a tripod, and a smartphone, I could have launched a YouTube channel. So you don't have to have a fancy setup, although having a fancy setup is nice. You do have to kind of learn how to use all that fancy gear. Let's talk about my gear. This is one of the questions I get quite a bit. Since I've launched my YouTube channel, a lot of folks have asked, they're like, so, what kind of camera do you have? What's your setup? You got a really nice clear picture when we're on these Zoom meetings. What do you got? First, you don't really need to have a ton of gear. I think if I had just a tripod, an iPhone mount, or a smartphone mount, it doesn't have to be an iPhone, and some gumption, I think that would have been enough to get a channel off the ground. But because I'm a nerd, and my wife might tell you I have a problem, this is what I got. I got myself a Panasonic Lumix G7, which is a 4K camera that can take both photographs and video. I tend to use it most of the time in 1080p, and I got this in a bundle. So it came with the lens, a 14 to 42 millimeter lens. It came with a memory card, a camera bag, a tripod, a bunch of stuff. I'll put a link in the description to the bundle that I got, or if that bundle's not available, a similar bundle so you can see what it is I got. A few months later, I also bought a second lens. This lens that I got is a 25 millimeter f1.7 lens, and that's the lens that I'm using right now. This lens allows for you to open the aperture really wide, and then what happens is the background gets blurry. So that's what I'm doing right now. I kind of like a blurry background. So in addition to the camera and the lens, I discovered that when I use the 25 millimeter lens, I'm so far away, I'm about 5 feet away from my camera right now, that it's not possible for me to push the button to start recording. So I got a remote control shutter that allows me to push the button to start the recording without having to touch the camera. In addition to that, I got a dummy battery, which allows me to plug my camera into a wall outlet so that I don't have to worry about charging the battery. That's my camera. Those are my lenses. What about my light? I'm using the GVM 100W with a lantern attachment. It's basically generating a nice daylight color light that gives me fine control over how bright it is. And because this is a nice diffuse lantern filter shield box thing that it's in, it doesn't cast harsh shadows. So I could hold my hand in front of my face, which might cause my focus to go out. But you can see here that there isn't a harsh shadow. I don't have a clear outline of my hand that's being cast on me. That tends to be super important, along with the color temperature, how blue or how yellow the white is. So this light is generating a light that's similar to daylight, which is amazing for filming. So I got an HDMI capture card, which is the CamLink 4K. It's a 4K 60 frame per second video capture card. All that means is I get a cable, an HDMI cable, micro HDMI on one side and regular HDMI on the other side. I can plug that cable into the camera. The other end of that plugs into the video capture card, and the video capture card plugs into my computer. And the capture card tells the computer I'm a webcam, so then when you connect to your Zoom meetings or your Teams meetings, you can go into settings and say, for my camera, use a CamLink 4K. And because I have this fancy camera plugged in on the other side, I'm able to use an HD camera, a 4K camera, as my webcam in my online meetings. Now, I don't really use the CamLink for the videos that I create for YouTube, but it is part of my daily setup, and so I thought I'd mention it here. In addition to that, I use wired lavalier mics. Most of the time I just use one wired lavalier mic. I got 2 of them for 15 bucks on Amazon. I'll drop a link in the description. These plug into a mini jack, just like a regular headphone microphone jack, like you'd see on the old style phones, back when they used to come with phone jacks. And I use some software on my computer to record the audio. I also use the memory card that's in the camera, and I transfer the video from the camera onto my computer. I use a program on my computer, GarageBand, to record the audio with the microphone I just told you about, and then I use my video editing program, Final Cut Pro, to combine those two things together and sync up the audio. And so I get a nice quality audio from the lav mic, as well as a nice solid picture from the camera. I use a teleprompter, and actually I have a separate video that I'll link in the description. I'll put a thumbnail up here if you want to learn about the teleprompter that I use and how it works. I use an external hard drive as well to actually do all of my editing so I don't fill up my computer. I have another video that I've done on external hard drives, and I'll put a link to that as well as a thumbnail. Link in the description, thumbnail right here. The next bit of gear that I'm using is a 16-inch MacBook Pro from 2019, which is sort of my workhorse. I rely on that thing every day. So that's the gear that I use. Join the movement. Like, comment, subscribe. If you like what you're seeing, click like. Comment. That's probably the most important thing for me, because that'll be how you can tell me what you want to see, what you like, what you don't like. And subscribe. If you'd like to just not lose track of me and have YouTube remind you that I exist and I'm in the world, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.